Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic SHAHADA channel. The story of Dr. Jerald F. Dirks begins in the heart of American Christianity. A man who devoted much of his early life to studying theology, he graduated with honors from the prestigious Harvard Divinity School, preparing himself for a life of ministry. He was ordained as a minister in the United Methodist Church, with the vision of guiding others through faith, tradition, and the scriptures. At first glance, his path seemed certain. He was a devout Christian, deeply engaged in pastoral duties, and well-versed in the language of theology. Yet beneath this religious devotion was a restless heart, a man who sought not only faith, but truth that could stand up to scrutiny, history, and reason. At Harvard, Dirks immersed himself in the study of the Bible, Christian history, and comparative religion. He was trained in the tools of textual analysis, learning how to examine scriptures in their original context and how historical events shape the formation of religious doctrines. What he found, however, disturbed him. As he compared translations, historical developments, and the evolution of church councils, he noticed a growing gap between the original message of Jesus and the later doctrines promoted by the institutional church. Concepts like the Trinity, original sin, and atonement, he realized, were not clear teachings of Christ, but the results of centuries of theological debates and political compromises. The more Dirks studied, the more he struggled with questions. Why were so many core doctrines absent from the earliest teachings of Jesus? How could one reconcile the monotheism preached by the prophets of Israel with the later idea of a triune God? Why did the Bible contain so many textual variants, revisions, and contradictions across manuscripts? As a minister, he tried to push these doubts aside, yet every time he opened the Bible or taught his congregation, he felt the weight of unresolved questions pressing harder against his conscience. In the early 1990s, Dirks and his wife began to engage with Muslim families in their community. Initially, it was simple friendship, neighbors sharing meals, children playing together. But through these interactions, he found himself drawn into deeper discussions about faith. The Muslims he met were not trying to convince him of anything. They simply lived their lives, prayed with discipline, and spoke about their religion with quiet confidence. For the first time, Dirks was introduced to the Quran, not as something foreign, but as a scripture claiming continuity with the message of Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. When he began reading the Quran, he was struck by its simplicity and clarity. One God without partners, without division. Prophets as human messengers, not divine beings. A faith that emphasized moral responsibility, justice, and direct accountability before God. It was a vision of religion that resonated with what he believed Jesus himself had taught: worship God alone, serve humanity, and live a life of righteousness. Dirks's academic training did not allow him to accept a religion blindly. He began researching Islamic history, comparing hadith literature, and examining the historical preservation of the Quran. The evidence he found astonished him. Unlike the Bible, which had countless versions and revisions, the Quran had been preserved with remarkable consistency since the time of its revelation. He found that the Quran not only confirmed the monotheism he long believed in, but also provided clarity where Christian theology had left contradictions. After years of study, reflection, and internal struggle, Dr. Jerald Dirks made a decision that would change the course of his life. He embraced Islam. Since his conversion, Dr. Dirks has become an author, speaker, and researcher, dedicating his life to building bridges of understanding between Christians and Muslims. He has written extensively about the historical relationship between the two faiths, pointing out not only the differences, but also the common ground that binds them together. In interviews, he often reflects that his journey was not one of abandoning Christianity, but of returning to the pure monotheism of Jesus, the same message he believes Islam continues to uphold. Dr. Jerald Dirks' story is not merely about conversion. It is about the courage to question, to doubt, and to search for answers, even when it meant leaving behind a life of privilege, authority, and community. His journey reminds us that truth is not always where tradition tells us to stop searching. Sometimes it requires stepping beyond the familiar, challenging inherited beliefs and allowing faith to align with reason. From the pulpits of Harvard to the pages of Islamic scholarship, Dr. Jerald F. Dirks embodies a journey of faith that is as intellectual as it is spiritual. His story is a testament to the human longing for truth and the courage it takes to follow it wherever it may lead. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.